Hello and welcome to Core Finance CEO Interviews. I am Bonnie Hughes. Our guest today is Ascent Resources. They have a gas field in Slovenia and they're currently selling to Croatia. Here to tell us all about the company is newly appointed Chief Executive Officer John Buggenhagen. Hello, John.
Hi, Bonnie.
And you've recently been hired as the new Chief Executive Officer of Ascent Resources. And please tell us what your plan is for the future.
Yeah, we're looking to kind of refocus Ascent kind of away from some of the permitting woes that we've had in the past and focus on some of the opportunities we see in our license area that kind of go beyond the deeper, tighter gas reservoirs. The company's been focused on the Petasochi gas field for many years and has had some good production over the years. As that production is declining, we're looking for new opportunities in our license area to kind of grow our production base and kind of get away from kind of these deeper targets that have caused permitting issues and find other opportunities in the license area based upon our newly reprocessed 3D seismic survey.
And maybe it might be good for their shareholders to get a little bit of history and background of what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, sure. So I started my career, I'm a geophysicist by background. My career started in Alaska working for ConocoPhillips. After working there for many years, I kind of started working in Central Europe and have lived in Poland and Hungary and have very relevant experience both from the technical side as well as the management and government relations side in Central Europe for the last 15 years.
And one of the initial things that you've done is reprocessed the seismic data. Why did you do that?
Yeah, so the 3D hasn't been reprocessed for over 10 years. In that kind of 10-year period, a lot of things have happened in the region that show that 3D seismic allows us to kind of reduce the risk of finding new accumulations of hydrocarbons. And so I'd like to apply some of that experience from my past to the Petasochi concession and look for new resources to kind of grow our production in the near term.
So you're going to stay focused on Slovenia for now?
One of the major focus of the company is Slovenia. I mean, look, we have a large concession. We have a good partnership with Geoenergo in Slovenia. We have producing wells. We have infrastructure to not only process our gas, but as you mentioned, export our gas to Croatia. So that's kind of a unique situation that we want to take advantage of.
And are you able to maybe increase your sales to Croatia? Is that going to be something you'd like to do?
Absolutely. I mean, we see the relationship we have exporting gas as something that's sustainable for the long term. I believe that any gas we found will find its way to market very quickly.
And one of the previous ideas was a processing plant. Is that something you'll still look at in the future, or is it you're more focused on finding more resources?
Well, that processing capability allows us to expand our reserves. So by having that permit to expand our plant also gives us the opportunity to expand our production, which is a primary focus for the current management team.
And so one of the things you're looking at is conventional well drilling.
Yes.
And why are you doing that?
Well, if you look in the region, a lot of companies have been successful in the last 10 years looking for what we call stratigraphic traps. So these are accumulations that aren't kind of traditional structures. They can kind of be hanging out in space on the flanks of these structures. If you look at the Petasochi concession, all of the production is on the crest of this very large structure with almost no drilling on the flanks and kind of extending beyond that. I believe there's a lot of resource to be found there, and by reprocessing the seismic, it's really opened the potential for some of those opportunities.
And are you looking at accumulating more acreage around your current project? Is that something that's a plan?
Right now we're going to focus on what we have, but we are doing a regional assessment. I think that Ascent has good relationships in the region. We have a strong relationship in Croatia, something that we'd like to kind of take forward. And so there's plenty of opportunity we'll look to in the future. But right now our primary focus is on taking advantage of the asset that we currently have at Petasochi.
And your other strategy is to cut costs by 50%. Now that's quite a big number. How are you doing that?
Well, we've had some change in the management team, a change in the board, and we've kind of reduced the operating staff of the company down to reflect kind of our current operations in country.
That's amazing news for shareholders, for sure.
Yep.
That means you have more money to actually put in the ground and move things forward.
That's
when
correct.
you do some cost cutting, and so you are also give us. You've got experience working with governments in various countries in the region. Is that what you're working on as well? Is your relationship with the government in Slovenia?
Well, that's one of my primary goals, is to refocus and kind of rebuild our relationship with the government, and try to find a way to work with them to bring all of what I see as significant reserves at Petosochi forward.
I guess shareholders who've been holding this company for a while will be looking at the past a bit, so they're going to wonder how you're going to make a difference in the future. We have sort of gone through it, but is there other things that we can tell shareholders?
I think that we want to tell shareholders that while we're still focused on the existing issues in country, getting our permits to stimulate the existing wells and grow that production, that they should be excited about the asset base they have in country. And I think we're shifting management more from a business management team to a very technically focused management team. And our goal is to take advantage of that expertise to kind of grow our reserves and not only focus on those reservoirs where we've had challenges in the past with respect to permitting and gas rates.
Yes, obviously, if you grow your reserves, grow your production, you grow your revenue.
That's right. But we also want to focus on simpler reserves, so shallower reservoirs that are well proven in the area. They don't require stimulation, slightly cheaper drilling, and we see a lot of opportunity across our existing concession area to go after those types of reserves.
And what sort of news flow can investors expect sort of in the short term, long term?
Well, in the short term, we'll be putting out when our seismic is finally processed here in the next few weeks. We'll then start a very intensive analysis of that data, and we'll begin to put out some of the potential opportunities we see for future drilling and growth and expansion in the existing concession. But also we're looking at partnerships in the region, possibly working with other players in the region to help us kind of go forward given the challenges we've had in the past.
And have you added some more people to your team on a technical basis?
We have from a consulting point of view, but we've also added myself. So I'll be very much involved with the technical evaluation of the data going forward.
So you began with the company as Chief Operating Officer, and you've just moved to Chief Executive Officer.
Yes, that's correct. And that's kind of a shift of focus for me, so I'll need to focus a lot of my time on running the business. But again, in the near term, our focus is in finding new reserves. We have a very capable operating team in Slovenia who is allowing us to continue to work with the government and our partners under a new philosophy, my philosophy, but also to work towards getting more of a technical focus to the company and growing our reserves that way.
You have a lot of things going on these days, very busy boy.
Yeah, it's a very busy time for sure.
And catching up to speed and I guess going out and marketing and talking about the company and the changes that are occurring.
That's correct, yeah. But at the same time, I think it's really important that we get the message out to our shareholders that we are focusing on our asset base in Slovenia, and that to reiterate to them that they have a very significant asset in the ground, and one of the challenges we face is how to monetize that in the near term. I think in rebuilding our relationship with the government will be one of the strongest ways to do that. And the way that we'll do that is be very proactive towards how we see the development and working through the regulations to ultimately get our gas out of the ground.
And I guess you're talking to new investors to hopefully help you keep building the company?
We are, and we're looking to obviously attract an institutional base to our investment, to our investors. But also to give people the comfort that we're kind of shifting our focus again more towards growing the reserves that we can actually produce and monetize in the near term.
Excellent. Well, very nice to meet you, and we look forward to speaking with you again and hearing about your progress.
Thank you, Bonnie.
And thank you very much for joining us on Core Finance CEO Interviews. Have a very profitable day.